Right, we're going to start with image 46. Those of you who've been to the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem, which I believe is the tomb in which Jesus was actually buried, will have seen inside the Garden Tomb the limestone tomb, image number 46, please, in which Jesus was buried. Now, the actual limestone of that tomb is a particular type of stone which is only found in ancient tombs in Jerusalem and nowhere else known on planet Earth. It's actually called travertine aragonite. Now, two scientists called Joseph Kolbeck and Richard Levi-Setti, American scientists, they found that there were traces of this particular very rare limestone on the shroud. They found some of these on the nose of the shroud, the left kneecap, and both heels. And they say that the Shroud of Turin was definitely in Jerusalem because they don't know anywhere else on planet Earth where travertine aragonite is found. What you're looking at now is actually Dr. Max Fry, who's a pollen specialist, a member of the STIRP team, Dr. Max Fry, and he's actually a botanist, and he found lots and lots of pollen and spores on the shroud. And he found that it had lots and lots of different spores and pollen of plants found only in Jerusalem. And that's Dr. Avinoam Danin, a botany professor at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He found Zygophyllum dumosum, the spores of that plant, and he found the spores of a next plant, Guandelia 2040. And he said that the shroud definitely came from Jerusalem. Further evidence of the shroud is Sudarium, which was the linen cloth over the face of Jesus. Now that shroud, the Sudarium of Oviedo over the face of Jesus, is actually in a wooden or oak chest in Oviedo in Spain. And again, Dr. Alan Wang has studied that and found that the blood type is type AB, which on both the Shroud of Turin and the Shroud of Oviedo, and the blood marks exactly match the blood marks on the Sudarium of Oviedo exactly match the Shroud of Turin, which means they were both placed over the same corpse. That is very, very significant because the history of the Sudarium of Oviedo in Spain is actually very well known. Now, we're actually getting on to how did that image get there? Well, we now know how the image got there because of the work, the amazing work in image 51 of Dr. August Aceta. Let's see Dr. August Aceta in image 51. Now, he's a radiologist who lives in California. He works with X-rays professionally as a living. And he decided that the shroud was basically similar to an X-ray, but obviously more advanced. He looked at image 52, and he noticed, if we can look at image 52, that the hands appeared to be like X-rays. So he thought that the whole of the shroud image was caused by radiation. What he actually did was quite complex, but he ended up with image number 53, which is he injected himself with radioactive material, stood in front of an X-ray plate, and then put the plate in front of the VPA image analyzing computer, and for the first time in history produced a three-dimensional image from a two-dimensional X-ray. That's what he actually did. So he proved that the image on the shroud was actually caused by radiation. That's so important, I'm going to repeat it. The image on the shroud has been scientifically proved to be caused by radiation. There is no paint on the shroud whatever. It is caused by radiation, nuclear radiation. Let's move on now. Just to reinforce the point, is that the image on the shroud is caused by a blast of radiation, which would include gamma rays, X-rays, infrared, and lots of other light rays as well. Right. I want now to move away from science to study the scriptures and not look at the resurrection, but at the transfiguration. This is described in Matthew 17, verses 1 to 3. I'm just going to read that verse to you. Now, after 6 days, in other words, on the seventh day, and God is a God of seventh, so on the seventh day, something really important happened, and this is what happened. Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. And Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him, and that's what happened. That's the transfiguration. Now, it says in image 56 that his face shone like the sun at noon. Very, very bright. And we're told that the light shone through his clothes. Also, we're told in image 57 that two Old Testament characters, image 57, Moses and Elijah, appeared with Jesus. Of course, Moses had died and Elijah had been taken up to heaven on a chariot of fire, and they were Old Testament saints. But there they are appearing with Jesus. So I think you'll agree with me that Jesus is now in eternity. We're told that God is clothed in light. In 1 John 1, verse 5, it says, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. And in Psalm 104, first two verses, it says that God is clothed in light. So what exactly happened at the Transfiguration? Well, the answer is I don't actually know. But I've got a theory, and you can listen to my theory and decide whether I'm right or wrong. Image 59 is Albert Einstein's famous equation. I expect you've heard of it. It's called E equals mc squared. Don't worry, relax. I'm not going to try and make life really difficult for you from a scientific point of view. All you need to know is there is a relationship between energy, mass, and the speed of light. Now, in experimental physics, if you are moving at the speed of light, then time ceases to exist. There is no time in eternity. So, something obviously happened to Jesus' body. Something happened to Jesus' body at the Transfiguration. The atoms of his body were moving at the speed of light, and Jesus was actually in eternity with Moses and Elijah because the atoms of his body were moving at the speed of light. I haven't been to eternity, and nor has anybody else I know other than Jesus Christ. Moses and Elijah obviously had. However, it is possible that when we die and our spirit leaves our body and we're in eternity and there's no time, that the molecules of our body are moving at the speed of light. That is from theoretical physics, and I can't prove it to you, and nor can anybody else. Now we're going to look at something else very interesting in the Old Testament. This is Moses going up Mount Sinai to receive the Ten Commandments from God. He came face to face with God, and not many people survived that, but Moses did. When he came down, his face glowed with light. The face of Moses glowing with light. Now, it lasted a few days, and then it wore off. So when you come into contact with God, your face shines with light. And here I'm taking a leap of faith here and saying that the Shroud of Turin was in contact with the resurrected Jesus Christ and glowed with light, which may be how the image actually got onto the shroud in the first place. Those are photons, they're subatomic particles, and they make up light. Light is made up of photons moving in a waveform. The next picture, I want to make it very simple for you and try not to make this too complicated. Image 63 is what you see if you hang a linen garment up in the window. You see light shining through the linen garments. And that's what the disciples saw at the Transfiguration. They saw a bright light shining through the garments. Anyway, it's lovely to have you with us on the To The Point, this program. I know it's a little bit technical. My program's a little bit too technical for some, but personally, I think this stuff is all really exciting, and we'd love to have you with us. Do stay around for the next To The Point. God bless you, and bye-bye now.
The corroborating evidence, forensic, historical, scientific, and circumstantial, as the lawyers might say, is clearly in support of authenticity.
The circumstantial evidence in support of the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin is simply overwhelming. In my professional opinion, it would meet the most stringent evidentiary requirements in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt.